Hey, what's up, White Picket? So today we're going to do something a little bit different. Today, I want to engage all of you in a little bit of a workshop. And I like to do this workshop about once every 3 to 4 months in my own life because it really gets me focused on what it is that I need to be working on. And you see, a lot of people, they don't understand what their strengths are and what their weaknesses are. And we cannot improve unless we know what our strengths and our weaknesses are. So I want to go through this quick little activity with you so that you can figure out where are my greatest strengths, what are my biggest weaknesses, and then we start to actually come up with a game plan on how we're going to address those strengths and weaknesses. So I want everyone to get out a piece of paper. So take a few seconds, get out a piece of paper, and then you want to make a T-chart. So we're going to make a T-chart here. And on one side of the T-chart, we're going to put strengths. And on the other side of the T-chart, I want you to write down weakness. Now, before some of you get upset, understand we all have strengths and weaknesses. It doesn't necessarily make you a bad person. In fact, it makes you a better person for understanding what your strengths are and, more importantly, what your weaknesses are. So I'm going to go through and I'm now going to write down my top three. So you want to put your top three for each of these, and you may need to take a few minutes to think about it and say, what are my strengths and what are my weaknesses? So number one of the things that is a strength that I have, something I consider one of my strengths, is that I'm very analytical. I like to analyze things. I like to look at a situation and figure out why is it working, why is it not working. So I'll put up here analytical as one of my strengths. Two, another strength that I have is that I have a very openness for learning. I have a high willingness to learn and to adapt. So I'm going to write that down on here as well. I enjoy learning. I like watching videos. I like doing the YouTube. I like going to trainings. I enjoy all of that. So I have a high willingness to learn and adapt. That's another strength that I have. And third, my third strength that I have is that I enjoy helping others. So for me, it's fun to help others. I get enjoyment out of that. Now, we need to address the weaknesses as well. And remember, these are not yours, these are mine. Your paper should look entirely different because if we want to be able to address these and we want to have a game plan, we need to know the strengths, we need to know the weaknesses. So one of the weaknesses that I have, I can tell you, is organization. I have to make a strong effort to maintain myself organized. If I don't make a strong effort to be organized, I fall apart all over the place. So one of my weaknesses is organization. Number two, one of my weaknesses is actually decision making. So for me, because I'm analytical, I sometimes am overly analytical and I struggle to make the decision. And rather than just take action and make the decision, I sit there and I analyze it for far too long. That's one of my weaknesses. And the third thing that I would consider one of my big weaknesses here is that sometimes, and anyone who's ever met me knows, I can be stubborn. So although I'm willing to learn, I can be stubborn about the things that I already know, right? So these are my strengths. These are my weaknesses personally. Now, what I like to do is I like to say, great, I know what I'm good at. That's not changing. What we need to address is right here. What can we do about these things, about these three weaknesses that we have? Because if we start to address these weaknesses, then we're able to convert them into strengths. And I can tell you one thing, Learn and adapt was not always one of my strengths. That's something that I have turned into over the last few years. I've learned to become good at learning and adapting. Before, I liked to learn, but it wasn't a strength of mine because it fell more on the stubborn side. And right now, these are things that I'm working on. So for you, what you would like to do is you'd want to go through and you want to say, organization, what can I do to be more organized? Well, I can create a calendar. So I can make sure that my calendar is well organized. I can time block. I can actually go through on my calendar and set up time for me to do things. And then other simple things like I can go in and I can clean up my email. I can organize my email. Things that are going to make me more organized. And I want to go through and I want to come up with 3 things for each of these that I can do. And what makes it really easy is whenever you can't come up with something, share with somebody else and say, look, these are my strengths and these are my weaknesses. Because guess what? There's people out there who their strength is organization, and they can say, well, actually, Jabron, let me give you some tips. Here's a couple of things that you can do to be more organized. Or there may be people who say, you know what, I don't really know how to learn and adapt. I don't know what books to read. It's one of my weaknesses that I'm not getting enough training. I'm not getting enough education to improve myself. And there may be somebody in the room who goes, well, let me give you some tips. Here's some great books that you can read. Here's some information on how you can get better at learning and adapting to the world around you. So take time right now, go through, create your strengths, figure out your weaknesses, and then come up with the 3 things that you can do for each of those weaknesses in order to be stronger with them. And then when you're done, grab a partner and share. Or if you're having a hard time coming up with ways to fix this, go around the room. This is an opportunity for you to mastermind and network with the other people that are there in the training with you and say, look, these are my strengths and these are my weaknesses. Do you have some tips for me? Can you help me at the things that I'm not great at? So this is a great activity. You want to do it about once every 3 to 4 months so that you can continuously be working on improving yourself. And when you improve yourself in these areas, your business improves and your bank account gets a lot larger. So I hope this is very helpful for you. Go out there right now, spend the next 10 to 15 minutes working on this, network and mastermind with the other people in the room, and make sure that you know what your weaknesses are and that you're constantly working on turning those into strengths. Thanks so much, guys, and have a great day.